The strange part is not that people ask for money when your number changes. The strange part is that the invoice was already written. A raise hits, a wire clears, an inheritance lands. A business finally throws off real cash. Maybe it is not even wealth yet. Maybe it is just the first time your bank balance stops looking fragile. To you, it feels like relief. To other people, it can look like a signal. And the second that signal appears, two statements print. One was written by everyone who thinks they have a claim on you. It has old favors, old disappointments, old comparisons, and old assumptions about what your success is supposed to repair. The other was written by you, but not consciously. It was written one bottle of water, one unused subscription, one premium upgrade, one forgotten membership, one little convenience at a time. You never read either invoice while it was being drafted. That is why the number shocks you when it appears. Neo here. This is not a video about cutting people off. It is not a video about becoming suspicious of every relative, friend, or habit. It is about learning to read a statement before it becomes a demand. Because money is the one secret that tells itself. You can keep quiet about the exact number, but the number leaks through behavior. It leaks through what you stop tolerating. It leaks through what you can finally refuse. It leaks through the fact that you do not panic at the same emergencies anymore. And when the number tells on you, people do not only see money, they see a new version of the relationship. Some people see permission, some people see betrayal, some people see rescue, some people see proof that you were holding back. Some people see a person they love, some people see a resource that happens to have your face. That is the first invoice, the social invoice. It is not always loud. In fact, the quietest entries are usually the most dangerous because nobody presents them as entries. They arrive as jokes, hints, emergencies, moral tests, and small comments with hooks inside them. You must be doing well now. So you forgot where you came from? You know when you needed help, people were there. You can afford it. That last sentence is where the invoice hides. It sounds like math, but it is usually not math. It is a claim. If you can afford it, then the question becomes why you will not pay. And if you will not pay, the relationship has to invent a story about you. Selfish, changed, cheap, cold, acting rich, forgetting family, forgetting friends, forgetting who was there.
But the invoice was not created that day. It was only printed that day. For years, people may have been keeping private ledgers. The $40 they pressed into your hand during a cold month. The ride they gave you when your car was unreliable. The sofa you slept on. The dinner they bought. The favor they mention as a joke, but remember with exact lighting. Sometimes the loudest claimant tracked the smallest gift for 14 years, and sometimes the person who gave the most never sends a bill at all. That is the asymmetry. The people who kept the cleanest books are not always the people who gave the most. Sometimes the biggest sacrifice is invisible, because the person who made it refused to turn it into leverage. Maybe someone sold land quietly. Maybe someone took extra shifts. Maybe someone covered a gap and never told you what it cost them. Maybe someone protected your dignity by erasing their own fingerprints. So the lesson is not never help people. That would be too simple and too bitter. The lesson is do not confuse volume with truth. The person with the loudest invoice may not be the person with the deepest claim. The person who never invoices you may be the person whose contribution built the floor you stand on. This is why a new number is emotionally dangerous. It does not only change your options, it changes what people think they are allowed to ask for. Before the number changed, your limit looked like inability. After the number changes, your limit looks like refusal. That is why some people will never forgive you for having a limit, not because the limit is unreasonable, but because the old relationship depended on your limit being invisible. If you could not help, nobody had to confront your choice. If you can help and choose not to, now the relationship has to face a boundary. That boundary is where the social invoice becomes visible. But here is where the second column matters. Most people hear this and immediately think about other people's expectations. They think about family, friends, relatives, group chats, old classmates, distant cousins, and the person who suddenly remembers you when there is a bill. But while other people were keeping a tab on you, your habits were keeping a tab too. Your own life has been quietly billing you in the background. Not with dramatic purchases, not with a yacht, not with a cartoon villain version of lifestyle inflation, with normal things. the purchases that feel too small to audit and too ordinary to question. That is why they work.
A bottle of water does not feel like a financial decision. It feels like being a functioning adult. A streaming service does not feel like a leak. It feels like entertainment. A gym membership does not feel like waste. It feels like optimism. Premium gas can feel like care, even when most cars do not benefit from it. Brand name groceries can feel like safety, even when store brands are often made in similar places and priced far lower. Each entry looks harmless alone. The invoice becomes visible only when you annualize it. Bottled water can look like a few dollars at a time. Run it through a year, and it can become around $1,000. Run that difference through decades with investment growth, and you can find a six-figure shadow sitting behind a habit that never felt expensive. An unused gym membership can look like health because the intention was real. Around $60 a month does not sound like a financial wound. But if half the people who join quit within months, the industry does not need everyone to show up. It only needs enough people to keep paying for the version of themselves they plan to become. Dead subscriptions do the same thing. $50 a month in forgotten services is $600 a year. It is not catastrophic. That is why it survives. The dangerous expenses are not always the ones that insult you with their size. They are the ones polite enough to stay under your irritation threshold. That is the second invoice, the habit invoice. And it is built from the same mechanism as the social invoice. Silent accrual, no statement, then one day the number changes and the total suddenly matters. When income is low, some leaks feel irrelevant because there is no room to think. When income rises, the leaks do not disappear, they scale. The convenience becomes nicer, the subscription stack becomes cleaner, the delivery fee becomes easier to justify, the upgrade becomes the new baseline. Then one day you wonder why the raise did not change your life. It did change your life. It changed the invoice. If you don't audit the outflow, more income simply gives the hidden tab more room to write. This is why the two columns have to stay braided. If you only audit the people around you, you become defensive and suspicious. If you only audit your habits, you ignore the social pressure that can drain a new number the moment it appears. The real move is to read both columns before they read you. Column 1. Who expects access to your money because your number changed?
Column 2. What already had access to your money before you admitted it? Those are different questions, but they teach the same skill. The skill is not saying no to everything. The skill is refusing to let silence write the terms. A social invoice becomes healthier when you define categories before emotion enters. Gift, loan, emergency, recurring support, shared obligation, and no. Those words sound cold until you realize the alternative is resentment pretending to be generosity. If you give, name it as a gift. Do not give a loan with gift emotions. Do not give a gift with loan expectations. Do not create a private invoice and call it love. If you lend, write the terms: amount, date, repayment, and what happens if repayment does not happen. If that sounds too formal for the relationship may not be strong enough for the loan. If it is an emergency, define emergency. A hospital bill is not the same as a lifestyle preference. A temporary bridge is not the same as becoming someone else's permanent budget line. And if the answer is no, do not over-explain until the no turns into a negotiation. A boundary does not need to win a courtroom case to be valid. The same applies to the habit invoice. You do not need to become a monk, you need labels. Needed, loved, convenient, forgotten, aspirational, social, automatic, leaking. A subscription you love and use is not the enemy. A subscription you forgot is not entertainment, it is a small, silent creditor. A gym you attend is health infrastructure. A gym you stopped using is a monthly bill for an identity you haven't rebuilt yet. A convenience you choose consciously can be worth it. A convenience you never notice is not convenience, it is drift. The audit is not there to shame you, it is there to move decisions from the dark into the light. Here is the practical version. First, run a number change rehearsal before the number changes.
Ask, if my income rose by 20%, who would expect to benefit? Who would ask directly? Who would hint? Who would be hurt if I did not share? Who has actually supported me in ways I haven't acknowledged? Who uses support as a hook? Do not answer with paranoia. Answer with categories. There may be people you truly want to help. Write that down. There may be people you want to thank, not because they demanded it, but because their quiet support mattered. Write that down too. There may be people who will treat your boundary as betrayal. Name that before the call comes. Second, run a habit statement for the last 90 days.
Do not start with a budget app fantasy. Start with recurring charges, then convenience spending, then upgrades, then things you bought because they felt like the cost of being normal. Annualize them. Monthly numbers lie by being small. Annual numbers tell the truth without yelling. $50 a month is $600 a year. $1,000 a year is $10,000 over a decade before growth. A habit that can become 6 figures over a working life deserves at least one honest look. Third, decide your generosity policy while nobody is pressuring you. This sounds mechanical, but it is actually emotional protection. If you wait until someone is crying, angry, flattering you, or accusing you, you will not be making a clean decision. You will be negotiating with adrenaline. A policy might be, I give small gifts without repayment expectations. I do not cosign. I do not lend money I cannot afford to lose. I support one true emergency per year within a set amount. I do not fund repeated lifestyle choices. I help with information, transportation, planning, or one-time bridges before I become a recurring payment source. Your policy can be generous. It just cannot be invisible. Fourth, decide your convenience policy. Which conveniences actually buy back time, health, or focus? Keep those. Which ones only help you avoid noticing a feeling for 20 minutes? Audit those. A food delivery fee after a brutal workday may be humane. Food delivery 4 nights a week because there is no system at home may be an invoice. Bottled water on a road trip is normal. Bottled water as a default at home when a filter would solve the problem is a line item asking to be reviewed. The point is not purity. The point is authorship. If money is leaving, you should know whether it left because you chose it, because someone claimed it, or because a system quietly kept billing you. Fifth, pay attention to the first reaction when you create a limit. A healthy person may be disappointed. A healthy person may need time, but they can eventually understand a boundary. A person who is counting on silent access often reacts as if you stole something from them. That reaction tells you the invoice existed before you saw it. The same is true for habits. Cancel a service you do not use and notice whether you missed the service or the fantasy attached to it. Stop a small leak and notice whether your life gets worse or only your self-image complains. Some invoices are financial, some are emotional, many are both. This is where wealth gets quieter and more adult than the internet usually makes it. Building money is not only investing. It is not only earning more. It is not only avoiding waste. It is also learning which claims are real, which claims are inherited, and which claims were created by your own inattention. The number changing is not the beginning of the story. It is the printer turning on. When the statement appears, it feels sudden because you were not watching the entries, but the entries were there. The old favor with interest attached, the family expectation, the friend who thinks closeness means access, the subscription you forgot, the membership you meant to use, the upgrade that stopped feeling like an upgrade and became the floor. Both invoices teach the same uncomfortable lesson. What is unaudited becomes entitled. People become entitled to what you never defined. Habits become entitled to what you never reviewed. And the longer you wait, the more expensive the conversation becomes. So before your next number changes, read the invoice early. Not to become cold, to become clear. Clarity lets generosity stay generous. Clarity lets support stay honest. Clarity lets convenience stay chosen. Clarity keeps a raise from disappearing into old claims and small leaks. You cannot stop everyone from keeping a tab. You cannot stop every habit from trying to become normal, but you can stop being surprised by the statement. You can decide what you owe, what you are grateful for, what you will give, what what you will not fund, what you will keep, and what you will cancel before the number forces the conversation. There is one more reason this matters before the number changes. If you do not build your policy early, your first real surplus gets assigned by whoever reaches it first. That might be a person. It might be a habit. It might be an old version of you that finally has the money to buy what it used to imagine. The first surplus is emotionally loud because it feels like proof. Proof you made it. Proof the struggle was worth it. Proof you can breathe. That is exactly why it needs protection. Surplus without a job becomes available to every claim in the room. A family request can take it, a friend emergency can take it, a nicer apartment can take it, a car upgrade can take it, the subscription stack can take it. 1,000 tiny signals can take it before you ever decide what the surplus was supposed to do. So the first rule is simple. Assign the surplus before the world does.
Not all of it. Not in a harsh way. Just enough that your new number has a spine. A portion can become security. A portion can become investment. A portion can become generosity. A portion can become guilt-free enjoyment. A portion can become debt reduction or future tax protection. The categories can be personal, but the category has to exist before the pressure arrives. Otherwise, every conversation feels like a fresh moral emergency, and moral emergencies are expensive. The social invoice uses urgency. The habit invoice uses normalcy. One says, "How can you say no right now?" The other says, "Why even look at this? It is only a little." Those two voices sound different, but they both try to keep you from pausing. The pause is the audit. A pause before answering a money request. A pause before upgrading the recurring bill. A pause before letting a free trial become a monthly charge. A pause before turning temporary help into a permanent role. A pause before assuming that a higher income means the old standards were too low. The pause gives the number a chance to serve your life instead of becoming a public utility. That is why this is not about becoming less generous. It is about becoming more accurate. Accurate generosity says, "I can help here, in this way, one time," without turning the relationship into a billing department. Accurate spending says, "I enjoy this enough to keep it, and I know what it costs over a year." Accurate boundaries say, "I understand this matters to you, but my money already has assignments." That sentence matters. My money already has assignments. It is different from "I cannot afford it." Sometimes you can afford it. That is not the point. If affordability were the only standard, every dollar above survival would be available for whoever made the strongest emotional case. A mature financial life is not built by asking only whether you can pay. It is built by asking whether paying belongs to the plan. The same dollar cannot become emergency savings, debt payoff, investment, family support, convenience spending, and proof that you are a good person all at once. Every dollar can wear one name at a time. The invoice becomes dangerous when 5 different people, habits, and emotions try to write their name on the same dollar. So if you want a practical closing exercise, do this tonight. Open a blank page and draw 2 columns. On the left, write claims from people. On the right, write claims from habits. Under people, write every recurring or likely request you can imagine if your number changed. Family help, friend loans, group spending, gifts, emergencies, shared obligations, old favors, silent expectations. Do not judge them yet, just list them. Under habits, write every recurring or likely automatic claim. Subscriptions, convenience food, upgrades, memberships, premium versions, delivery, bottled drinks, brand defaults, fees, anything that repeats because you stop noticing it. Then mark each line with one of 4 words. Keep, reduce, define, remove. Keep means it is aligned. Reduce means the category has value but the size is wrong. Define means it needs terms before it becomes resentment. Remove means it only survived because you never looked. That simple page can save you from years of vague pressure. Because most financial mistakes do not announce themselves as mistakes. They arrive wearing normal clothes, a normal favor, a normal bill, a normal family expectation, a normal upgrade, a normal subscription, a normal "you can afford it." Then the number changes and normal becomes expensive. The goal is not to make your life smaller, The goal is to make your money less available to confusion. When the next invoice prints, you want to recognize the entries. You want to know which ones are real. You want to know which ones are gratitude, which ones are guilt, which ones are drift, which ones are love, which ones are leverage, which ones are convenience, which ones are leaks. That recognition is what changes the total. Because the invoice you read early is still negotiable. The invoice you ignore becomes a personality test, a family fight, a lifestyle trap, or a decade of missing money. Read it while it is still quiet. Read it before the number changes. And if the number has already changed, read it before the next request, the next renewal, the next upgrade, and the next moment where someone else tries to decide what your money means. You do not owe everyone access because your life improved. You do not owe every habit permanence because it once felt normal. You owe your future enough clarity that your money can finally stop being audited by everyone and everything except you. That is the quiet power in this episode. Auditing replacing being audited. And the earlier you read the invoice, the more of the total still belongs to you.